no one knows really what is going on over there in Israel and Palestine, and you cannot trust anyone's commentary. And I was inspired to make this my first topic of discussion because if you've been paying attention on the news, you've noticed that there has been a conflict between Palestine and Israel that has kind of exploded. Bombs are going off. You have the Iron Dome activated where they're shooting rockets out the sky from Hamas. You have people who are in the pro-Israel camp, and then you have people who are in the pro-Palestine camp. And here's the thing. You can't really use the usual left-right paradigm to see who's on whose side here, because conservatives talk about being kind of, anti-war and more, pro-America, take care of Americans and not have your loyalties and finances in these foreign entities and these foreign wars. But conservatives are huge pro-Israel people, which is shocking to me. I know. But then you also have people who are Democrats who are also pro-Israel people, right? But then you have a kind of a faction of the progressive wing that is pro-Palestine, or at least they are more willing to call out Israel and not going to just say, hey, Israel has a right to defend itself, kind of like our President Joe Biden did, right? And so you have these various people with various opinions speaking on this topic. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone really knows what is going on here, right? Because the comments that I've seen have been very, very, and I mean very, very, very lazy. They've been kind of, right? So let me just give you guys my perspective here. I'm 27 years old, okay? I know literally nothing about Palestine, really. I know almost nothing about Israel. All I know is for some reason, America has made Israel kind of our guy. And so whenever there's a conflict between Israel and Palestine, the political leadership in this country is almost always going to say Israel has a right to defend themselves. Doesn't matter if that person is a Republican president. Doesn't matter if that person is a conservative president, right? Joe Biden sounds just like Donald Trump regarding Israel. So that's what I know about Israel and Palestine. And then what I'm seeing, though, is people are kind of coming out the woodworks with their opinions on this situation, but they're not really saying anything that I think they're knowledgeable about. Because these two groups have been fighting for, generations, right? Generations. Who knows what the conflict is about? You speak to some people, they say that the Palestinians are always trying to come after Israel, and Israel has a right to defend themselves, and Israel has a right to exist. That land belongs to Israel, so the Palestinians have to kind of just get over it. You talk to people who are who are Palestinian, they'll tell you that the Israel is an oppressive regime. And so deep down in my soul, I know, yeah, you know what? I'm not getting the truth, or maybe I am getting the truth. It's just that this is one of those situations where there is no quote unquote truth, right? You are hearing the truth, quote unquote, based off how it has been told to these various different groups. But here's my thing, though. If I don't know much about this topic, I know for a fact that most of you listening don't know much about this topic. And that's not me being arrogant. Once again, I know sometimes the way that things come out of my mouth or the way things come across, I sound arrogant. But sounding arrogant doesn't make me arrogant. And what I just said is less of a declaration of my arrogance. Is more so that I think we just Americans in general, we're kind of self-centered people. We don't really care about what's going on in other countries. We don't. You don't know who's the leader of various nations, or who's leading various countries in Africa, or what's going on in New Zealand, what's going on in Germany. We don't know anything about those people. Those people know a bunch about us because America is such a big country. We have this power and this responsibility in leading kind of the Western world, so to speak. So every nation learns about us, but we don't learn anything about them. And so if I'm admitting that I don't know much, and I'm also stating that you probably don't know more than I do, then it means that there are a bunch of people out there commenting on a global incident with no knowledge base whatsoever. And so I don't understand how we don't realize the best course of action here is for all of us to kind of be quiet. Seriously, just be quiet. This belief that you have to have an opinion on everything that goes on, otherwise you are not a good human being, we have to reject that to the fullest. Because really that line of thinking has us coming out here saying all types of things that we are going to regret probably 5 years later, 10 years later, because we don't want to admit, hey, I don't know as much as I need to know about this topic. Or just sit on a simple thing, hey, you know what? Tragedy going on. I pray for Israel, the Israelis. I pray for the Palestinians. Hopefully, both sides will be able to reach a conclusion period, bang, tweet that out. Right? For those of you people who with platforms, celebrities, and social influencers who must comment on every little thing going on, right? Tweet that. This way, you don't lose any endorsements. You don't piss off any of your fans. And most importantly for me, you don't end up coming across as an idiot or racist. In case you haven't been paying attention, no matter which side of this you land on, you're going to be called either an anti-Semite or an Islamophobe, depending on what your statement is about this conflict, right? So if you say anything outside of what I just said or just told you how to say, be prepared to be called an anti-Semite, be prepared to be called a Zionist in some cases, that you care so much about the existence of Israel that you are willing to justify the slaughter of Palestinian women and children. Be prepared for that. That is going to happen. Right? And so, I don't know. I just kind of want to just throw it out there because I'm worried that too many of us aren't really thinking this thing through here. When we all have come out with these various opinions. I haven't really tweeted about this situation because I don't know any historical context. And really, I only have one real opinion on this, which is I do not care about Israel in any way, shape, or form any more or less than Palestine. You guys know this. I am someone who believes that Americans should kind of look to fixing things in our country and take care of our own citizens, first and foremost. And so any country outside of America kind of they get the same amount of mental energy from me, which is I don't want to see anything bad happen to people, but I don't care about these various countries and conflicts or allies of the U.S. They're not an ally to me. You might be an ally to the country, but that doesn't mean you're an ally to me. And so, no, I'm not one of these people who believes that Israel deserves anything. Once again, I don't know Israel. I don't know any Jews. I don't know anything about the historical context of what's going on here. I just know that I don't care about the lives of Israelis more than I care about the lives of Palestinians, right? And these days, that'll get you in trouble. And so I just keep what I have to say to myself, as most of you probably should be doing. But we all need to just come out and admit that we don't know anything about what's going on over there between Israel and Palestine. Not a damn thing. All of us are ignorant. We don't know nothing. And so the sooner we can kind of admit that, hopefully, we can actually have better dialogue and more honest dialogue instead of this bullshit going on now where people are just virtue signaling about either how much they love Jews in Israel or how much they love, the Palestinians. And I think really all of that is whack. So, yeah.